squirrel.
Hey, y'all. Hey, Spencer. We're swapped around again.
Huh?
We're swapped around again.
Yep, I know you do it on purpose. There we go. Oh,
how's everybody?
Where are we at? There we go. All right. 53 people off the get-go. Hello, y'all. Sorry for the delay coming on there. I would blame it on Papa C, but it turns out it's StreamYard's fault. So hey, don't shoot the messenger. I think that squirrel is probably listening. She's probably in the background or something. I don't know. She's having a problem with her internet because of the storms down here. Hey, and just so y'all know, hey, reach out to everybody you know in North Alabama and North Georgia and Lower Tennessee, Middle Tennessee, and everything, because like even Kumbo. What'd you say? Kumbo had like the roof torn off his shop or something?
Well, hold on 1 second. I'll just read everybody the text he sent me. I've got to call him back. I was going to call him this evening. Let me pull it up. Oh, give me 1 second. Okay. All right. See, he sent this morning. Says it damaged the old barn behind the house, took off about half the roof ridge vent, and some shingles off the romper room where all this gun and reload stuff is. He said that's what he could see right now, but said probably have a lot of trees down, and said their power's out. So yeah, according to the radar last night, one of the tornadoes that went through Rogersville and up through that way, it actually, according to the radar, the thing formed right there nearly over his farm. I mean, that's where it really. I kept rewinding and watching, and where it first picked it up, it was nearly right over his farm. So yeah, he made it through all right. When I tried to call him last night to make sure they were in the storm shelter, and he texted me back and said he didn't answer it. I guess he was in the storm shelter, didn't have much signal, but he sent me a text, said, "Hey, we're in the storm shelter." So yeah, he got sketchy across a lot of North Alabama last night.
I saw a lot of flooding in parts of Tennessee. Anyway, just everybody keep that in mind and reach out and check on everybody. Anyway, so look, we got Papa C on. You guys have seen him in the chat. Papa actually saved the day, because it's really hard whenever you're trying to line up these shows. You have guests that are willing to do it on certain dates and everything, and sometimes they cancel. Actually, they cancel a lot, or they say, "Hey, I got to change the date." And Papa jumped right on it. He's like, "Hey, I'll talk." So, Papa, you're the first one I think I've ever spoken to from Oregon.
Wow.
So,
well, there's a few of us.
So, hey, before you get going on the Bigfoot stuff, because you were telling me, some things, but before you get going on the Bigfoot stuff, tell everybody a little bit about yourself and some of your history and experience and everything.
Okay, I was born on the banks of the Snake River in southern Idaho. Grew up, moved along there towards Oregon, and we ended up in eastern Oregon when I was 5. And so, and grew up here. This is like probably the most remote place with a town or anything in the continental United States. I mean, they're the biggest area of roadless wilderness just to the east of us. I'm about 50 miles from Hell's Canyon in the Blue Mountains, in a little valley in the middle of the Blue Mountains called the Grand Ronde Valley in La Grande, Oregon. And I grew up, we would go out as kids in the wheat fields and pull rye. And then I got on a tractor and spent, from the age of 16 to college, driving a tractor around or bucking hay bales or herding cows, a lot of herding cows. And then I got jobs. Well, I got drafted. And when I came back from there, I was kind of pissed off at the world, like a lot of us, and I couldn't get along. There weren't no jobs. So I ran off into the hills.
Wait. Hold on. You got drafted for what?
Vietnam.
Wow.
I ain't talking about it.
I know. And then he came back and had a hard time getting work. Carry on.
Right. So rather than just drinking myself to death, I grabbed a big bottle of Everclear and a bag of weed and headed off to the mountains with a 80-pound pack of goodies and a couple of books, Edible Plants and North American Field Guide to Wildflowers, and a little magnifying glass to look at stamens and pistils and all that. And I learned how to live off the land. One of the things I really learned about living off the land is like plants don't cut it. You can't survive off of them.
That's true.
You're going to go downhill fast and stay that way unless you can hunt, So I did grow up hunting and got really good at it. 16, I started bow hunting. And by the time I got out of the Army, I was a really good shot with a bow. So I would get, squirrels and grouse and deer and elk, depend on time of year, right? And good fisherman. So I ate really good like that. But I learned that right away, like, wow, all this learning about plants might have been a waste. I don't know. There's some roots. They'll save you for a while, So at some point, you get lonely, right? You start talking to trees and bugs and, crying a lot and really.
It's depressing being out there for a couple days by yourself. I can't imagine just living out there. I've been out there, but I've never spent months on end out there on my own.
I think the longest I spent out there alone was like 6 weeks or 6 or 8 weeks, and yeah, I was pretty buggy, pretty crazy. So yeah, I got girlfriends and took them out. That was way better. And so anyway, that was somewhere, I don't know, about 1979 or something. I got me a job on the Green Chain, and they stuck me there forever. And then they shut down the mill. That dang spotted owl thing? I just completely wiped out our whole timber industry. Like, oh, look, this spotted owl is getting endangered. All a damn lie. And they shut down every one of our towns, lost all their sawmills. They didn't log anymore. And then they just let the forest burn. So the so-called environmentalists took over our state, and now we have less environment, less forest, less game. They're just trashing it. We got wolves running around everywhere, and they won't let us control them. And
well, let me ask you a question while you touched on that about the spotted owl. You think that that's maybe why the government doesn't want to recognize Bigfoot as being real, is because of what the spotted owl done for the timber industry?
Yeah, I think so. I don't want it to be recognized as being real as because of what they did with that spotted owl. They won't even let me walk out there, I bet, if I bet they'll say, "Oh, this whole place is closed. You can't go here. You might upset Bigfoot."
Yeah.
But that's if it's just straight up proved. But so anyway, then so I was a green chain puller and then a logger, and then logging doesn't run all the time, but then yeah, that was after they shut the sawmill down. They still had some, so I did get a logging job, and then I became an Alaska fisherman. So I would go fishing in Alaska and come back and log, and fish in Alaska and come back and log, and
Wow.
that Alaska fishing job is the damnedest thing. I cannot even describe how brutal that is. You're riding around on, the waves are at the littlest, as big as houses, right? And you're like riding around on a flatbed truck driving through hills like that. So your legs have got to withstand that going up and down and up. And then it tries to throw you over this way and throw you over that way and that way. And so just standing there is real hard work. And we would do it for 40 hours. We would work a 40-hour day, not a 40-hour week. And then we'd sleep for 4 hours and do it again till the boat was full. And that'd take 2 or 3 to 8 days. That's
Wow.
not good. And I saw some stuff. Oh man, there was, whales, giant squid, sperm whales and killer whales right beside the boat trying to eat our fish, or just wiping out our fish. But yeah, I fished for halibut and black cod on a long line. Really, really brutal job. It's like crabbing, only we actually have to work. That's what we always got in a fight with the crabbers over that statement. But
how long did you do that? How long did you do the fishing thing?
15 years in total. Yeah, it killed me. I had a heart attack at home one day, hiking up we were out checker hunting. I was hiking up the hill, and so I was like 212 pounds, made out of steel, in perfect shape, and I had a heart attack climbing up a hillside in Hell's Canyon hunting chuckers. Barely made it to the hospital alive. And they cut my chest open and gave me a triple bypass. And 2 months later, I'm back in the Bering Sea fishing.
Wow.
And 2 years later, that bottom vein graft failed. And I got to go for a helicopter ride to the hospital, get rescued at sea, and go to the hospital, Learjet flight down to Seattle. And they had just upped the technology to that they could fix my heart with stents. But anyway, the insurance company says you can't bring him back on the boat. And I'd worked my way up to captain. The last 8 years I fished, I was the captain of the boat. And that was it. That was the end of my whole, wonderful, exciting life. So I went and got me a job in the prison as an alcohol and drug and criminality counselor. Because I was like 18 years clean and sober by then. And so I did. I helped a lot of people, but prison was even more stressful than the fish boat, I think. And after 10 years and several more heart attacks, I had a stroke, and that was the end of that job. So I've been retired for 10 years. And then last year I took a job. Well, they raised the price of food, so I went and got me a job being a nanny to my grandkids. So I got like 8 of my grandkids who are at my daughter's, and that's what I do, is take care of kids all day. How therapeutic.
You're gonna have another heart attack.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, so yeah, I heard you guys do that keto and carnivore stuff. You told me that sometimes, and yeah, I've been doing that carnivore thing for a couple of years. My gosh, that's amazing. I heard Bobby Kennedy just put the governor of West Virginia on a carnivore diet. and weightlifting training.
Yeah, supposedly I know that I think West Virginia was one of the first ones to sign on with no artificial dyes
Right.
or stuff in the food. So, hey, good good for them. We'll see how it turns out. I do the carnivore about roughly about 6 months out of the year. And I used to do keto, but I started carnivore about 2 years ago, and I do it off and on. But I tell you what, for everybody, this show is not about that. But if you've never done it, guys, the you do not understand the brain fog that you have until you go
Really?
on something like that. It's there's no way to describe it, and I'm not like trying to advocate for that diet. I'm just saying you don't understand a lot of ailments. Like whenever I first went on it, heartburn, shoulder pain, neck pain, knee pain, all that kind of stuff went away. And I mean, of course, you lose a bunch of weight, but the more impressive thing is just how you feel. I mean, it makes you feel 20 years younger. But hey,
Yeah, I just went on it. Well, I went on keto for diabetes. I've had
yeah,
heart disease for 20 years, and then I got a letter saying I got diabetes, and I go, crap. How can that be? And that has just immediately made sense to me. Well, I know, I ate a banana, my blood sugar went to 300. I'm going, I don't think I want to do that again. So I didn't eat any carbs, and then started learning about it. And then all the veggies in keto gave me colitis.
yeah.
Or I already had it. They just set it off. And so, but that carnivore diet now has healed my diabetes is just gone. It's just not
Yeah.
there.
The carnivore, there's a lot of evidence to suggest that it gets rid of most diabetes. But the main thing is it gets rid of inflammation. And inflammation is what causes most people's problems. I would go out on a limb and say everything from cancer on down, but chronic inflammation is not good for you. It makes you hurt, makes you feel older than you are, and it has all kinds of health issues, everything from your arteries stiffening, all that kind of stuff. So, well, anyway, so Papa, first of all, thank you for your service. You sound like you've had a damn life of adventure. Whenever he was telling me some of this stuff, I was like, man, we got to talk about some of this, not just the Bigfoot stuff.
Yes.
But considering where you are, your location and everything, how on earth did you come into the Bigfoot thing? What happened? What's the first thing that tripped the wire?
The thing that really tripped the wire, even though I've had a jillion experiences, right, was Nana and I were camped at a little church campground over in Cove, Oregon, is just right next to us over across the valley here. And we were at a family reunion. We were camped in our little motor home. And as we looked out, we went to bed one night. The kids had been playing up in the overhead thing, like, it had an overcab bed. And we slept up there because that's where the air conditioner blew at it. And it was like 4th of July. At 3 a.m, Nana and I are sleeping there. She's sleeping by the big window that the kids had tore the curtains off of. And her face is like 6 inches from the window. And she wakes up and she said there was a Bigfoot face staring right at her. Right through the window, right? Well, I didn't know any of this. She just wakes up and she jumps over me, and she's a little old lady. This is 2018. And she can't jump over me in that small a space and zoom down to the floor. And she's sitting there on the settee thing, just shaking. And I go, "You all right? I go to the bathroom. What the heck's going on?" She goes, "I'm fine." I go, "Well, you want me to help you back up here or anything?" She goes, "No, I think I'll just stay down here." When I first saw her, she was doing this with her eyes and looking out the front window. She said later that when she looked out that front window, the whole front window was filled with hair. But she didn't tell me. She just said, I'm okay. And then the next morning I got up making some coffee and she goes, hey, after you get done with your coffee, would you go out there and look and see if any of those cherry trees out there on that tree in front of the motorhome looked like Bigfoot eyes, if they could be, close together, look like. I go, did you see a Bigfoot? She goes, yeah. And I laughed at her, dumbass. and I went out there and looked, and I went, uh-oh, Nana, there ain't any trees out here. Not for 50 yards. They're down by the creek. They're to the sides of us, but there's none right in front of us. And I go, so you saw a Bigfoot, huh? And then I laughed at her. And so she wouldn't talk about it for a couple more years. But for that 2 years, she watched like every episode of Never Finding Bigfoot, 45 times. I finally just sat down there and said, look, those guys are never going to find anything but a tame doe the way they're looking for things. It just ain't going to happen. And so then we cut the cable and went online. And I thought, well, I wonder if there's any other stuff about Bigfoot. So we watched all of Survivor Man stuff. And then we started finding guys like you guys. Oh, I think there was a how to hunt thing showed up, right? And I go, oh, I better watch this guy because I want to see if this clown knows how to hunt. And he started talking. I think the first thing I saw in his show was, and you low life so-and-so, blah, 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 is that your loved ones tell you they saw a Bigfoot and you laugh at them, you better go apologize. I looked over at Nana and says, you saw one, didn't you? She goes, I did. And I said, I'm sorry. So I decided to believe her and research it, and that's how it all started for me, even though there were some really big things that happened that I just couldn't swallow, So, yeah, we started researching everything, and that's when I went, so you guys are telling me all these things about what Bigfoot does, and I go, damn, that's happened to me, like wood knocks. I didn't know they knocked on wood. And the screams and the orbs and the howls, and I'm going, and the whoops, I must have heard a jillion whoops in my life. And so that it reminded me of like the first time anything weird was, well, anyway, I was a paper boy too before 16. So I saw Patty in the paper, right? And the Bigfoot sightings over at the Dalles, Oregon, where they're running across the freeway. And I saw all that stuff. And when I saw Patty, I went, I don't think that's what they look like. Looks like a guy in a suit, But then we were on an Earth Science Club field trip in my junior year in high school. And so it's early September, maybe Labor Day, and we went hiking up into these Wallowa Mountains right on the edge of the Hell's Canyon there. They meet Hell's Canyon. And we're up in the top of them. We're in a fantastic geological area. And so we were learning all about geology and glaciation, and we had really good classes, really good time, built a big bonfire. We were breaking logs, whacking logs and stuff on rocks and making all kinds of banging noises, and built a big, huge bonfire. And then at the end of the night, like, I think maybe 10 o'clock at night, the teacher, our earth science teacher, came and asked if we could help carry the sick girl out of the mountains. She had pneumonia. She couldn't breathe very well, and we didn't think she'd live if we didn't get her out of there. So we put a couple of sleeping bags between a couple of poles and put her in her sleeping bag on them and started off down the trail like big tough men. And we got about 1.5 miles, and our hands were like, our little 16-year-old hands, 17-year-old hands were all tired and sore. And well, I was worried I was just going to let go and drop one corner, So we stopped to put it down and try and figure something different out. And then we looked, and there's three basketball size, or not basketball, volleyball size, I think, somewhere between those. They're lights floating in the air about somewhere between a half and a quarter mile behind us, and kind of just moving like that. And they're too high up for anybody to hold. But the thing was, a couple of the guys I remember arguing. Those are just some guys from our party just messing with us. And they go, no. We didn't have blue lights in 1968. On our flashlights or lanterns, they were all yellow lights. So these were just really pale blue light orbs. They were orbs, and they did kind of light things up around them, but they were more like an opaque globe. It seemed like.
So they did give off. They did give off a little. They did give off a little ambient light around them.
Yeah, a little bit. But I mean, just you could see them glowing. So yeah, they gave off a little. But what happened at the same time was we started hearing these howling, screaming. It was a 3-tone thing that I've heard. Oh, I'm trying to remember. There's Survivor recorded one. I'm sure Carrie has played a few, but it's that screech, scream, and howl at the same time with 3 tones, and it makes your ears itch. You know, it's just off tune, just right like that. So that started happening, and there was 3 of them. And one of my friends says, "Hey, my uncle and I went to a Bigfoot presentation in Spokane last summer, and that's what they sound like. Those are Bigfoot up there." And everybody's laughing at him. Yeah, Colby, sure. Yeah, wonderful. You're just so full of it. And I'm going, well, it ain't. There is somebody, but that's elk. No, that's coyotes. No, it's not wolves. It's not nothing we'd ever heard. And so we figured out that if we took our belts off, this was an idea I came up with, and made a loop out of the belts and then put our arm in the loop, we could hold that stretcher up real high by our chest. That kept her from dragging in the bushes and stuff on the ground. And we could use 2 hands for strength. And we were booking it down this long 4 mile long, 3/4 mile wide valley out of the high mountains. And those dang lights and screams stayed above us, and the lights stayed below us or right behind us a few hundred yards for 4 miles. Oh, I never remember this part. I don't know. I didn't think it's significant at the time, but this is another thing you guys told me. When we picked her up and started to go off, our flashlights started going dead. They just drained down in 10 seconds and we're banging on them. And we quickly went, hey, if your battery's going dead, turn your flashlight off real quick. We'll just use one. But they all went dead at the same time, all 4 of them with brand new batteries. Yeah. But the moon was really bright. It was wide open, clear. So we just booked it out of there and didn't try our flashlights again until once we got to the end of the meadow. I'll tell you, this was, it was pretty creepy then, but this girl was in bad trouble. And that was the scary part. So that the Sasquatch stuff was secondary. Anyway, we got her out of there and saved her, and we're all big heroes and everything. And then the next morning, everybody came down the trail, and our friends packed our packs out. And my friend Kobe, he went back up the hill to see what they were doing up there. And when he came back, I says, "Did you tell Mrs. O about the Bigfoot thing?" And he goes, "Yeah, I did." I goes, "Well, what'd she say?" She says, Don't say another word about it. Don't tell anybody about it. You will be laughed at. You will be mocked, and we will never get to go on another trip up here again. So we never said another word about that. It was many years later before I asked a friend of mine, "Did you? What did you think about that time we heard those Bigfoot screams up there?" And he says, "I wasn't on that. I carried the packs." And so that's how long it was. I couldn't even remember who the hell we went with.
What time of year was it?
It was very early September, I think maybe Labor Day. And that was very interesting. You know, I've heard the people say that those orbs and Bigfoot are around for healing. They might have been, because we got her out of there fine. But I don't know any of that. But that was, we put that away, and I never heard another thing till I was out doing my survival stuff. I remember being first time anything happened, I was down in the Minam Canyon in the middle of the Wallowas, really fat country. And I was making a fire, and I'd learned this fun trick from lots of people. You know, you get some 8-foot long branches, and you just whack them on a tree and just bust them up into little firewood. Just keep whacking it, right?
Yeah.
So I whacked me a bunch of tamarack branches up and threw them in a big pile of firewood, and I got my little fire going and getting ready to cook some grouse or fish, and then I hear 4 knocks on, same kind of knocks on the tree as I'm hearing. I hear it going like that. It's same thing as me breaking my firewood. And I thought, what the hell? Some other ass hat. I'm out here in the middle of nowhere, and there's somebody else camping out here. Dang my luck. And buddy, if you don't hit that thing on that tree harder, you're never going to break it. You better find a punkier stick. It's probably never going to break. Because you could hear the sound, you can hear whether it's cracking or breaking or not breaking, because I do the same thing. And I just kind of sneak over there to look and see who's doing it. Nothing. So that happened a couple of times with me, and I snuck over. I'm good at sneaking back then, and I couldn't find anything over there to make that noise, and that is damn weird. And so sometimes I would have some friends down there during that survival thing, and I used to up by the high ridges. I would like to camp in them high meadows sometimes. It's really good deer hunting. And I would play my harmonica at night and, just play soothing, old mellow tunes. And then sometimes after I'd get done playing and lay down, try to go to sleep, there would be that scream come off the mountains again. And then they'd set off the coyotes, and the coyotes would be going off, and the thing would be screaming back and forth at them. And wow, I wonder. I was doing that one night with a friend of mine, my Paiute friend, Larry. And I go, "You hear that up there, Larry? That sounds like Kobe says that's a Bigfoot." And he goes, "Huh, sounds like a banshee to me." And he was positive. And I go, "Yeah, well, that's comforting." Bigfoot might be less scary than a banshee. I don't know.
Probably.
But then, so that was the kind of stuff I heard up there. That was a lot of things. One of the things about that area is the Nez Perce legend up there. Now, the Nez Perce lived from here to on the other side of Hell's Canyon over in Idaho, in the Rockies over there. And the big bunch of them was over in Idaho. But these mountain devils, mountain giants, mountain devils used to come out of our Wallowa Mountains and go into Idaho and eat the kids.
Yep.
And just wreak havoc, take everything, eat the kids, and then run back over here where nobody could find them. And so the Nez Perce made talked to a coyote about it, and coyote said, because he's really tricky, he says, "Yeah, I'll help you do it." And coyote put all the other animals with claws together, and they dug 4 big pits over there in Idaho, filled them with boiling lava, evidently boiling copper, and right in the path where those guys came, and the giants fell into the pit and were covered up with copper, and that became the 7 Devils Mountains. So they called them Mountain Devils, Mountain Giants.
Yep.
And then he's whacked the ground, or they dug Hell's Canyon with their claws. But anyway, the Hell's Canyon was put in between us and Idaho to keep them mountain giants out. Oh yeah, speaking of which, see, I had a stroke in 2013, took half my memory. And this diet is bringing it back. Plus, I was trying to get, I was coming down with dementia from lowering my cholesterol too low with their damn drugs. And I seem to be beating that with this diet. I don't know. I better spew all this stuff out before I go away, though.
Let it out.
Yeah.
We're not going to stop you.
No, you just keep talking. I'm enjoying it.
Okay, good. So I'm walking down the Nez Perce Trail along the Minam Canyon. I liked that canyon. I spent a lot of time in there. It's a big wild place. You might see somebody every 6 weeks or something, you know. So just a minute. I think I got something bad going on. Is that better?
You're good.
All right. So I'm not double. I had the YouTube app open. Anyway, I'm just walking along the trail, minding my own damn business, and trying not to leave a mark, right? I was into that. Now, you can't track me. You can't find me. I'm not going to leave a track. And I look on the ground on this trail. I get to a swamp, right? And I'm looking around for a way to get around the swamp. And here at the edge of it is this friggin' footprint. It's closer to 3 feet long than it is 2 feet long. And it's perfect, in perfect mud. I didn't know you needed to bring casting material. I didn't know anything about it. And I'm looking at it. I'm looking at the toes. I'm going, these are kind of shaped like elk tracks going both directions or something. And I'm down there right at 6 inches, looking just for any kind of crease that would show it was a multiple deer or elk track or bear track, and there was nothing. It's just a perfect track. You can even see the creases in the skin, maybe a few of those dermal ridges. But anyway, I looked out in the swamp, and there was a couple of big post holes. So I'm going like, that's too far apart. And then I went around and up the other side to see where it was going, and I couldn't find any tracks anymore. So I went back the other direction. There's no deer or elk tracks in any of this. So how can this possibly be a perfect track that was a bunch of deer and elk tracks messed up, right? I went back, and here's a partial back here about 10, 12 feet behind it of the other foot. And then just a faint piece of a partial back behind that, and then nothing. Then I realized that it had a big, huge thunderstorm had washed all the ones away that weren't under this giant white fir tree that stopped the rain from wiping those tracks out. I could not figure that out for the life of me. I just kind of walked away with gears grinding and smoke coming out my ears.
How big? How big?
I'm guessing 32 to 36 inches long. Because I put my arms down there. If I put my arms like this, that's 3 feet if I do that. And it was this much further past one. It's stupid. I'm going,
how wide?
Oh, 16, 18 inches, 16.
Wow.
How deep in the ground?
Inch and a half to an inch.
And you
Except
found,
for like in the swamp. I don't know how deep that was, but big holes.
well, you said it had rained, so the ground had to be soft to some degree, and you're in swampy area, but
It's
you found one full track and you found a couple partials. How
Yeah.
far apart were they? How far apart do you think they were?
Well, I looked back, like 6, 8 feet at first, and then I didn't find the next track till about 10 or 12 feet back. And then another one that far back. So huge steps. And then, 10, 12 feet out in the swamp. And then just gone. But then it rained and, plants straightened back up. It wasn't the kind of place that this land around here. There's a lot of pieces of ground around here that, a herd of elk won't leave a track if they don't want to.
If you find more than 2 or 3 tracks, you're doing something impressive. A lot of times you only find 1 or 1.5, 2, something like that. But that's mind blowing. That damn thing had to be huge to have a foot that big and take 10-foot steps.
So
strides.
that kind of made me, them Nez Perce might be right, huh?
Right.
So anyway,
did you get out of there after you found that? Did you like, hey, it's time to go?
I went about 10 miles up the hill to a different place, to a lake. I went about 10 miles away. The other thing that happened, I was camping there. Okay, one time camping with a friend, and we heard those wood knocks going on after I broke up my firewood. We're eating dinner, and we started hearing the wood knocks up there. They're about maybe 150, 200 yards away going on, just somebody banging on a tree. And my Paiute friend, he says, who the hell's camped by us? And I go, I don't know. I've heard this before, and I have never found anybody. And he crawled out there like a snake and never found nothing. And then another time I'm down there all alone, and I hear talking, weird talking, right? Like, I can't copy it, but they sounded like they were Oriental and drunk as hell and very emotional. And, so they're going, whack, and then a baby starts crying. And I go, that's it. I'm putting my little survival rifle together. I'm going to go straighten this up. You can't be hitting kids around me. And then I got to thinking better of it. No, these guys are drunk as hell, and they're probably more heavily armed than you, idiot. And we'll just go look at it in the morning. Mind your own damn business. We don't want to get killed out here or kill anybody. And I went over there. What was really upsetting was they were camped right by my friggin' fishing hole for my breakfast. And I went, well, I'll just beat them to the fishing hole in the morning. So right at crack of daylight, I'm crawling over there, sneaking over there, and there ain't anybody there. There's not a track on the ground, not a mark on the grass, not nothing, just those noises. And that one really weirded me out. I waded the river, I looked on the other side, I did everything and nothing, and it wasn't the river talking to me. I know what the river sounds like talking to me. So that was just another thing, that strange talking. And these were all things that just at the time I just wrote them off because there's no Bigfoot, right? It's not in we never talked about.
You wrote off a 3-foot long footprint?
Yep, just wrote it off. Went, I don't know how that happened. Something fell on it. Who knows,
All right.
We wrote off the thing in the screaming in the mountains, right? I wonder how many people do that. Just go, well, that was weird. Sure don't know what it was. Yeah, I think so. Because I finally
I've heard people come up with every excuse under the sun for seeing orbs. You know, oh, it's distant cars, even though there's no road around for miles, or it was people out there with flashlights and they were climbing the trees.
Yeah, that's the kind of stuff my buddies were talking about with the orbs. They're climbing trees with flashlights, and
Yeah.
do they have blue flashlights?
Hey,
Do we have blue
going back,
patterns?
going back to the very beginning, whenever your wife saw whatever she saw through the window, after you apologized to her, did she ever describe it in detail? Did she describe exactly what she saw?
Yeah, it looked like a giant brown-faced man, kind of, sort of. Somebody does pictures of Bigfoot that are very realistic looking.
All that what's her name, y'all? Sylvia.
Something like that. They used to be, gosh, I'm trying to remember where I saw them at. Kerry maybe had some pictures like that on his.
Well, Kerry also had. He recently passed away. I cannot think of his name, but he would come on and draw what the people were describing.
Right. Oh, he did, huh?
Yeah, Sibylla Irwin.
Sibylla Irwin. Who was the guy that was on? Kerry's show. The one that, man, his name is on the tip of my tongue. That would draw the boogers. That Larry Batson. That's it.
Yep.
Yeah.
I thought you was going for Bob Ross.
No. Bob Ross would only make happy little Bigfoot.
That's right.
But yeah, she said she showed me some of those pictures. She goes, "It looks like that one. Look just like that one." I'm going, really? And so we're doing all this research, and now I'm kind of lost. I'm pretty sure that was all the experiences. Maybe I'll remember another one. This memory crap is weird, man. It's bad because you lose your memory. You don't know it because you can't remember it. It didn't happen.
Well, I haven't even had a stroke. You're doing way better than I have. Yeah. I can.
Hey, it's healing. Go on this damn diet, buddy. What the hell you got to lose?
Yeah.
I mean, I call it a damn diet, a dumb diet. I call it any kind of diet that doesn't have copious quantities of cinnamon rolls, cigarettes, and beer is a bad diet.
Yeah, well, make you feel better.
Well, I was fixing to say, you took away part of what reason for living there. Come on.
Well,
no,
yeah,
you can. You get a good reason.
Yeah.
You do it and get rid of the heartburn and like backache and shoulder ache and all that kind of stuff. You stop and weigh, hey, how much do I really want to eat?
Yeah,
I had to go. What I was going to tell you is that, look, I know what the carnivore diet does big time because I've almost been beholden to it for about 12, 13 years. Because what I had to do was go on a diabetic diet, and that's the way I done it. Was I had to go on just basically strictly meat diet, and with no surgery, no nothing, just willpower and hunger, I lost from 350 pounds down to 184. And that took 3 years to lose it, but that's what I lost. I lost 166 pounds.
Yeah, I've lost 97, I think. And I've been at normal weight for a year. Yeah. I want a cinnamon roll bad, but not that bad. It hurts so bad to eat one now.
Yeah.
Hey, Papa, whenever you were experiencing all of this stuff, number one, did you ever smell anything?
Not very often. Not very often, but I have smelled that skunky type. It's not skunk. It's not this one particular. It's not skunk cabbage. It's not particular plant that we've got out there that kind of smells like or weed. I just couldn't. Sometimes I've smelled that, and that's after I did the research. Before that, I don't think I paid attention really. But yeah, I've smelled that and thought maybe there's a skunk. But since I've done research, I wonder about that one.
Yeah, I think that happens to everybody. I think back whenever I was doing wilderness survival stuff with a bunch of other people, and there were certain things that happened that at the time, like what you were saying, I'm like, what is that sound? What is that howl? And in my mind, I was like, it's got to be a mountain lion or a fox or something. But anyway, that's just how it goes, though. The more you learn about it, the more you are like, hey, I wonder about that one time. Did you ever, aside from seeing the blue orbs whenever you were carrying that girl down the mountains, did you ever see any other orbs?
Well, I've seen some lights at a very long distance. You can sit on a ridge top around here and watch another mountain 5-10 miles away. And I've seen little lights out there, but there could have been a guy with a flashlight. They were white lights. I don't know. I don't think so.
Did you ever, I have to ask some of these questions, but did you ever hear like heavy metal, like a heavy metal door? Did you ever hear that creak kind of noise?
Not that I remember. Not that I can remember. And that would have weirded me out too, hearing a creaking door. Heavy metal.
Did you ever get anything thrown at you?
Yeah. Yep. That's I don't know how many times. Be standing along the creek fishing, and you can't tell for sure because creeks do a lot of bloop, 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 but you hear a sploosh and hear it hit the bottom. Man, that was about the size of a softball or bigger, and that kind of splash. There'd be a great big mountain full of trees behind me, and I'm sitting here fishing and I watch my line and I look here and there's a splash over here. And so, and that's happened to me time and time again. As a matter of fact, the last time I went out, just last year, I guess, I haven't been playing with kids this year, but out steelhead fishing, and I will hear those things. Oh, yeah. You just reminded me of the smell. I went down to this place called Rondell, where the Grand Ronde and Wallowa rivers meet. It's a great steelhead fishing spot, 4-mile hike in there. And stand there fishing one day with my little doggy. We get down there, and it just reeks of rotten fish and skunk. And I look around and I go, who threw their fish all over the place? And me and my dog look, we're going back and forth looking for the big pile of rotten suckers somebody left so we can get rid of them, because it just reeked all over the place. And it kind of dawned on me that, hey, wait a minute. The breeze is coming from up the hill. It's not coming from down the hill, from the creek, from the river. So we looked around up there. It just, and that creepy feeling you get, had that going on. I went down and fished below there for a while, got some rocks thrown in the water, and just got creeped out, and we left. We walked we fished about an hour and walked 4 miles back, and I went, man, I wonder if that was a Bigfoot.
Have you ever laid eyes on one?
Oh, yeah. Twice.
Let's go into that. I thought I know I've seen an interview with you before. Go ahead.
Okay, this next one is just ridiculous. This day bugged me forever. I could not figure out what happened. We friend of mine, Will, and I, we were green chain pullers. It's 1982. And we would go out to go archery hunting in about the middle of September. And when we drive up this road, we're a little bit late, so it's already daylight, but I'm looking, we're driving up this dirty, rotten road in this Jeep up to the end, and there's no tracks on the road. We go, all right, nobody beat us. We're okay. up to our secret private elk hunting spot. And we get out, throw our packs on, start hiking up the hill. We get up there a ways, and about 30 feet in front of me, I see this kid in what looks like one of those new tree bark camo suits, sitting or squatting next to a tree. Couldn't really tell anything other than I spotted him by his face at about 30 yards. And that pissed me off because I usually see people in camo at about 80 yards. And I hadn't seen him. And he had this scowl on his face that was so mean looking. I just turned and started, I don't even want to deal with this guy. I'm going to take a switch back to the left here. And so I started switchbacking to the left. My buddy Will didn't give a damn. He just started hiking up there. I got about 30 yards up that way, and then I just switched back. No, I'm not going to let this, I'm not going to be intimidated and a chicken shit dumbass, you know. So started heading right straight at him. Will's coming up at him. And this whole time I'm looking, you know, I get impressions. I can't say that I heard anything, but I get impressions like, and I can't believe why I'm thinking at this guy. But, you know, first one is, you dumb kid, what are you doing in our spot, you know? And all I got was a hostile feeling from him. But as I got closer, the camo outfit changed. I could see it was a ghillie suit that had different patterns on it like that. A really fine ghillie suit. You know, it was a guy squatting there in a ghillie suit, or a kid. And I just thought, you dumb Nimrod idiot, you're out here in the middle of nowhere, not squatted by that tree, thinking I can't see you. And I see you plain as day, and you're just pretending I still can't see you. And so I was just going to walk up and talk to him, you know, hey, what are you doing? How you know, just make friend. Maybe I'll have another hunting buddy, right? And I just, you know, it doesn't matter if you want to fight. Will and I can whip just about anybody. And as I got closer, I could see that Will and I could not whip this guy. That he was mighty young. He could probably whip both of us with one hand tied behind his back. He was just that big and strong looking. But I really wanted to get close and take a look at that ghillie suit, because it was the best damn thing I'd ever seen that way. I mean, it was not so fluffy that it would get in your, you know, bowstring and mess things up. And it looked for all the world like a grass ghillie suit. And I just booked it up there to look good, and I looked at the hair, or it was hair. But I didn't know that at the time. I mean, those fibers are as fine as hairs, and they're twisted together, and the blonde ones are like this, looking like grass, and then the dark ones are finer and not woven or stuck together, you know, because it looked like he had strands of grass covering his face. I'm going like, buddy, if you were sitting over here by this yellow grass tuft, or yellow and brown grass tuft, instead of this green grass tuft you're by, I'd never have seen you in wide open space. What really got to me was his face color was charcoal gray, like he'd mixed the green and brown paint, or green and brown and black paint. I don't know, but it was a charcoal gray, and that was the best dang face paint job I had ever seen. It got under his hair without getting on his hair, all around his eyes, without even the eyelids, you know how they will show a white line. None of that was perfect. And under his face hair, it nose like mine, but his head was badly broken, like caved in right here. And right here, well, that was brow ridge. But I went, man, how did this guy live? The thoughts are going fast, right?
Yeah.
How did this guy live through having his head broken that bad? And what the hell is wrong with his mouth? Because it had a big, wide mouth in a scowl. straight nose. It just looked like a really weird person. If you went up and introduced him to your friends, hey, this is my buddy Clem here, they would be staring at him, maybe laughing at his looks. And I went, well, no, I won't be making. Doesn't look like he even wants to make friends. So as I got up close, I saw all that. He did not, in all this time, did not flinch a muscle, did not move, and he did not have a bow or a day pack or anything. No gear whatsoever. And I go, that is really weird. And I was just going to go up, ask, where's your stuff? Where's the rest of your gang? We'll just try and stay out of your way. And as I got there, and I was just far enough away, 8 feet, right where you would stop, so you wouldn't get in somebody's personal space, and I just got this fear, this rush of if you do anything, if you say anything, there will be violence. So I just turned on my toe, like column left march, and start up the hill. And Will and I met right at that time and went up the hill. We got about 30, 40 feet up the hill. I turned around, looked back, and there's nobody there. And he didn't make any noise leaving. I went, Will, did you see that guy down there? And he goes, yeah. And we never talked about it again. We didn't talk, it was just too weird to me. I don't know why. I've heard that with a lot of people, though. They just don't talk about it anymore afterwards, right? You heard that a lot?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So that's kind of what brought me onto it, was people going like, yeah, this happened. We never talked about it again. We never did anything together again. So we went up the hill away from all that and went elk hunting, came back down to that general area, and we bugled in a gigantic 6-point bull, and Will hit a branch and missed it. So we went down the hill to camp, and we went and got our stuff out of the Jeep, and just, about to step down to where we were going to roll out our sleeping bags. And there was this roar, something between a cross between an elephant and a Brahma bull. It was so loud, it almost it seemed like it made my bones vibrate. And it was just right up by the Jeep, right there, just as loud a friggin' roar. And I would have said it was a Brahma bull, except for that little trill of the elephant added into it. But anyway, yeah, it was. I just wrote it off. I said, Will, that's one of them great big old bulls that keeps putting us behind a tree. And he goes, yeah, right. So we're standing there. We made a fire, a really quick fire, right? Bunch of little branches, and got a big roaring fire. And we're standing there back to back with our bows at the ready, going, what a couple of losers. We haven't even got a gun. So we sat there all night. Will stayed awake all night. I went to sleep. I decided, it just had to be one of them big bulls. So we got up in the morning when it was just barely light enough to see to move. And Will started throwing all the stuff in the Jeep. We would have left the night before, but the roar came from right by the Jeep.
Right.
And so we weren't going up there. We were staying by the fire. And he said, yeah, there's been something walking around this camp all night long. I go, okay, where's the tracks? Let's go look. So we walked up. I walked up to where the roar came from and looked around for them big old bull tracks. I mean, they're going to leave a track, right? You can see 100 feet away. I could not find any kind of track anywhere. And I don't know what to think about it. I'm looking and circling wider and wider and wider, and I've got the place covered pretty well. And Will's down there in the Jeep going, okay, that's it. It ain't no bull. You get in the Jeep now and come with me, or I'm leaving you. Going, well, this is a brave man too. He don't take no stuff off anybody. And I go, really? We got to find out what this was. And he goes, no, we're leaving. And so we left, and we never went hunting together again, ever. That is weird.
You didn't drive right down the road and sleep on top of your truck in the middle of a field all night?
No doubt.
Man. So whenever you left there, did you ever go back to that spot again?
Oh yeah, I go there all the time.
Anything else ever happened?
Well, I think in the last 20 years, maybe every other year, something like that, I like to walk out about 5 miles on my secret trail, and there's a really good place to get elk. And so sometimes I'm out there messing with elk too late in the day, and I have to walk back on that trail in the dark. So I mean, it happens all the time. And this is always September, and very, it gets kind of weird walking a 5 mile trail in the dark in the wilderness. And so every now and then, right straight above me, always, a tree will come crashing down. And I thought, well, there's lots of dead trees around here that they could easily, fall over, but that'll make you jump, big old crack, whoosh, and a 2 or 3 foot in diameter tree comes down right by you.
Do you always hear it hit the ground?
Yeah.
You do?
Yeah. Yeah. I've heard the ones that don't hit the ground too, but all of those, yeah, I heard it. Well, maybe some of them didn't sound like they hit the ground, just that.
Yeah.
So I don't know about that. But yeah, or we'll get to camp. Here's another one. It's happened about 20 times over 10 years, so it's kind of hard to keep track of, right? But we got a few years, like 3 years ago, we're up camping. We set up camp, and boom, we got 6 grandkids, my son and daughter-in-law and somebody else, and 6 little kids, and a tree comes down right by camp, because it'll do that on the first night of camp. I think that's happened to me, 5 of those 20 times for that kind of thing, right by camp. It even happened this last year. Yeah, just like that, the first night. And I was, that was 2020, I think. And I was sick, and I went to bed early, laying down there, and then that tree came down just like, 20 yards from camp. And I jump out of the trailer and start yelling at the world. God damn it, I got kids around here. Quit doing that stuff here. I'm going to bigger heads. And I don't know how that went, but then the next season is a rifle season, right? And my brother-in-law is out camped 10 miles away in another campsite. And he goes, I came up to visit him. He goes, we've been hearing really weird noises right over there. And a tree fell over too. I go, right at dark, right when you got here, right? And he goes, yeah. I go, I'll be damned. They're doing that to me too. And he goes, there's weird talking over there and weird sounds of all kinds of things. And I go, so you don't believe in Bigfoot, right? No.
Right.
But there's some weird over there. But so that's some of the other stuff. You just say it to
while you were walking around, did you ever find bone piles? Did you ever find hair up in a tree 8-9 feet up? Have you ever found strange gifts like at your camp? Like wake up in the morning and something will be there that wasn't there the night before?
Not that I know of, not that I can think of, because it wasn't anything I paid any attention to. Did somebody give me a a feather or something,
Yeah.
something really cool like that. But maybe.
Well, I mean, sometimes it's obvious stuff. Like you'll come out and there will be a hubcap laying over by your fire pit, and it's like, where the heck did that come from? But it can be weird stuff. But I mean, that would probably stand out to you if it had happened. What about Yeah, that's what I was getting ready to ask, little Patty. What about odd scat? You ever walk up on a big old
couple of
pile of
years ago.
something that
Couple of years ago, because I didn't think about looking for them until because when Nana saw that Bigfoot in 2018. We started researching it really hard in 2020, and then I started looking for stuff like that. And I think it was 2 years ago out mushroom picking. I do that a lot. I pick mushrooms endlessly. And what a good time walking around in them. And a couple of years ago, there was lots of fresh bear shit around here and there and everywhere, and we've got big bears too. Yeah. But this was, let's see, how do I make that big around?
About like a Coke can.
Just a skosh smaller, and about, where am I? That long. Yeah, that long. And I took a picture of it, and I think I sent it into, now there's somebody's name I can't remember, but he's a friend of your guys'. So I just sent it in on the show. They were talking one night, and they were pretty impressed. I mean, I laid my 8-inch knife by it. And so, yeah, I've seen just one that I can be sure of, because it looked like human poop, not bear poop. It didn't have no hair or seeds in it. It was just smooth poop.
Was it very dark in color?
No, it was just normal brown. But it was really fresh.
Was it like out in the middle? Was it in the middle of a trail?
No, it was out on the just out in a logged area where we were looking for mushrooms. My battery's dying. There we go.
You guys get woodfish up there? Do you get morels?
Yeah, we got morels up the yin yang. Several kinds: the black ones, the burns, and the blonde ones.
Yeah,
and then
we mostly have the blonde ones here, but
right.
Do you guys get oyster mushrooms up there?
Yeah, we get a lot of them. What I really like is the boletes, the porcinis.
Are you serious? See, I don't really care for the boletes, and they grow all over where I moved, but I love morels, and I can't find any for 3 years right here where I moved.
Isn't that weird?
It is weird. Yes, it is.
They haven't been showing up.
I have chanterelles out the butt. Chanterelles are everywhere, and the boletes are everywhere.
I'll be darned.
Yep.
Yeah, you can fill a pickup with them dang boletes. And once upon a time, they were worth $20 a pound. And but then the Cambodians came in and wiped that out. They flooded the market. We had a little war over that.
Whenever you guys what were you going to say?
I don't remember. I have dementia.
I'm sorry. No, well, it doesn't help if I interrupt you. But hey,
so
whenever you saw that booger crouching down by the tree, give a general. You described the brow ridge and the sunken eyes pretty good. What color were its eyes? Did you see any white of the eyes? How big do you think it was, even though it was crouched down? Like give a general description.
So it was brown and blonde and black were the hairs, and they were situated in this ghillie suit. They were probably between 12 and 18-inch long hairs. Came down like messy in the front with, I'm kind of surprised I saw his face with the way these blonde streaks were running down in front of his face. Some blonde, some dark. And then just hair hanging down over his shoulders. He was, 6'6", 7 feet tall is my guess. And not really horribly hugely built, but big enough that, it looked like a tough enough guy you could hit him over the head with a bar stool and it wouldn't hurt. And you'd be in big trouble, right? So that's kind of what I was thinking. And my main focus was to look at these fibers so that I could make me a ghillie suit like that. What the heck was he using? Because I knew ropes well. I knew all about ropes and what kind of rope I would want to get. And I am sure I could recognize it when I looked close at it, but I could not recognize any of it. If it was anything, he took some twine and combed it out and tied it to his ghillie suit and used some stretchy material to get it right stuck to him. But that just creeped me out. Just the rest was just a blob. I didn't look at the hands or the feet. Just that long stringy ghillie suit that wouldn't mess with my bow. That's what I was mostly concerned with, and the rest is just speculation afterward. The thing I really got me was right as half a second before I turned and walked straight up the hill I got the impression that this was a really wild man, that he was living in the woods. His family was right over there, and don't mess with me or you'll be hurt.
So this was before you really started looking into boogers, Bigfoot stuff.
This was about 1982, 81 or 82.
As you got close to him, and what did you say? You were about 8-10 feet away at the closest point?
Yeah.
As you got close to him and you're looking at this guy and you're realizing, hey, it's hair. So the dude was naked. He just had hair all over. Could you see muscle definition and all of that kind of stuff?
No, I could just see how big the shoulders and arms were. And I still didn't really know it was hair until clear in this day's research. I thought it was such fine fibers, that he'd combed out string and combed out those fibers. And it just completely out of my wheelhouse that it would be hair, that there was anybody that damn wild.
And he didn't, you said he didn't flinch a muscle.
Not one.
Did he make any sounds? Did he have any smell? Anything?
Didn't smell anything like that. But I think the wind was always at my back when I was coming to him. And so the wind was never blowing from him to me. So I wouldn't have known. But I didn't smell anything. The hair looked, kind of, not the hair. I thought it was strings. It was kind of greasy and matted together. And I went, man, look how he twisted that together. What kind of grease did he put on that to do that? Because it's not real greasy, but it's still sticky like that.
What did his eyes look like?
They were just dark. And I didn't notice anything impressive about him other than just being dark pupils, malevolent. Don't remember the whites of the eyes at all. And I was just really impressed with how that camo paint, that face paint was not, it was even on the edge of his eyelids. There was just...
So the hair was in his face though, right? But you could still see enough.
Was hanging down over his head, and it was growing off his face about like mine. Not quite as thick, and you could see around the edges of his beard that it was that the skin under there was dark, that it was painted dark somehow. I was just going, man, that's the best damn camo paint job I've ever seen.
Okay.
And that's just it. It was just, yeah, well, we didn't fight with that guy and get our ass kicked. So
All of this time in the woods, and I mean, mostly we talk about boogers on the show, but all of this time in the woods, you ever see anything else? You ever see anything about Dogman? You ever see anything UFOs? Anything mystical, magical, spiritual, anything like that?
just those orbs. I kind of wonder about these Bigfoot things, so if they're not kind of spiritual, because I'll tell you some more about that. That's more recent stuff. But so Nana and I started researching online and listening to all you guys and going, wow, yeah, I've seen that. Because I mean, I've got people I hung out with for 40 years, walking around the woods, hunting with and everything in 40 years, and we didn't talk about this one bit. It wasn't it, once in a while we'd hear a Bigfoot story. We heard in the 90s, we heard about Paul Freeman.
Yeah.
That,
Yeah.
that
In the Blue Mountain. Yeah.
80, 90 miles north of us. He was, we heard about that story and went, hell. And then somebody else says, yeah, we had some trouble over there. My friend so-and-so had trouble over there and he shot one of them. And we had to get the hell out of there. So I remember hearing that story when we were drunk and we're going, yeah, that's a good story. I wonder. But it just didn't dawn on me, that my experiences might be that. I just threw it away. Anyway, after we were researching, Nana and I went out in 2020. We thought we're pretty sick, but there's a little lake, Crawfish Lake. We're going to hike a 1.5 miles, fairly level trail to get to Crawfish Lake. So we took off on the trail. Nana did the most beautiful somersault over boulders I've ever seen done and did not break herself all to pieces.
Right.
So we went in and we went through this deep, dark draw, giant trees, and it's really, really a spooky looking place. And we get over to the lake and we get our camp set up, catch some fish, and then it's time to make a campfire. And I realized I forgot my little bow saw. So I started grabbing the long lodgepole pine trunks that are from a burn that are laying around there. And I go to whack it on the tree and Nana goes, don't do that. Or I whacked it once on the tree and Nana says, don't do that. And I go, why? She goes, Bigfoot come. And I says, Nana, that almost never happens. Don't worry about it. It just never will happen. This place has just had, it just had 10 people fishing around it and they all left, but it just ain't going to happen. I got to break this wood up. So I whacked the wood up. And about an hour later, it's just right at dark, there is this boom. And it sounded like somebody whacking a telephone pole against, a giant 5 or 6 foot snag, just as hard as they could swing it. And then it looks at me and goes, told you. Okay, that was a tree falling over. It just landed on another tree and it's no big deal. And about a half hour later, boom, boom, a little closer around the lake from us. And she goes, what did it do that time? Bounce? I'm going, I don't know. And about 15 minutes later, we're just sitting there on the edge watching everything. There's 4 of them. Boom, boom, boom. I mean, for all the world, exactly like a telephone pole being whacked on a tree. And I was a logger for, 6, 7 years. They, they swing them logs around and hit on stuff. I know what it sounds like for a log to be whacking on another log. And
doesn't sound like that though, does it?
Not as loud as that. Yeah, that was so. Anyway, She goes, right, Papa. I told you not to break that firewood like that. And but Nana and I have a weird thing. I don't know how many people do it, but if you get scared, we start getting funny. We start making jokes and laughing and giggling. And so we're making jokes and laughing and giggling. And we're going to bed. And we got our big, I don't know, 90-pound yellow lab named Trigger, our protector wonder dog
Right.
with us. And so we pitched our tiny little tent and threw out our sleeping bags and laid down. And that damn dog usually sleeps right outside the door, protecting us. But he wanted to get in the bottom of my sleeping bag. And he was pretty tough to fight about it. You know, I finally let him in there and then kicked him out. And several times that night, he would be trying to get in that sleeping bag and wake me up. I was able to drift off a few times. We were having pretty bad insomnia. Nana's laying there, you know, and she goes, there's something walking around the camp. And it went, and oh, that's a deer. We scared the deer. She goes, I know what a deer sounds like, dummy. This is not a deer. I go, really? And so we're, you know, just giggling, talking crap. We would have packed that up in the middle of the night, but we knew we had to walk back through that big, deep, dark draw, and that thing was scary in the day. And with this, whatever was around, we didn't want to. So we waited till morning, and then we literally packed up and left, and we didn't have any more, you know, didn't have anything but just something walking around our camp all night and making that huffy noise.
So you never had anything slap a tent, slap the camper, shake stuff, throw rocks and hit the tent or the camper or anything like that?
No, I've been paying close attention to that. Never had anything like that. Just the rocks thrown in the water near me.
What about anything like, well, and all of this is while you guys are out in the woods, in the mountains or whatever.
Yeah.
What about right there where you live? Have you ever heard anybody, I mean, because you live right there in that area, have you ever had any of your neighbors say that they've had missing livestock or, you know, pet food or house been slapped? Have you ever had anything happen at your home?
No, I don't think so. Let's see, about 3 miles that way, it's the edge of the mountains. They're about quarter mile this way, but right on the edge there is what we got is a recreation area for the town. And in the parking lot of the recreation area, Squatch America, Bigfoot hunters, got a report from somebody that there was a Bigfoot track in the snow over there. And they followed the trackway up into the mountains till they couldn't. No, sometimes I did, sometimes I didn't have a big campfire, but they followed it till they couldn't walk up in the deep snow anymore.
Yeah.
But that one night when we heard that roar next to the camp, yeah, we had a big fire going all night.
I bet.
But this night, no, Nana and I didn't. We just figured, now nothing's going to save us if it wants us. We're just. I'm not that afraid of them. It doesn't seem, because they've never done anything but just try and scare me, or weird me out.
I think there is a big disconnect between people. You have people that think, like Missing 411, they think that boogers and dogmen will just eat you and snatch you and everybody be gone. And the answer to that is, with as many people as we have out in national parks and just camping and hunting and everything, if boogers wanted to snatch people, you would know about it. There'd be a lot of people missing. I'm not saying that they don't necessarily do it, but then again, you have the exact opposite end of the spectrum, which is people think that they're friendly forest giants and Harry and the Hendersons, and I don't think they're that either. Like what you were talking about, where the closer you got to that one, just a feeling of dread and like, hey, this thing just wants you to, ignore it, leave it alone. My opinion, personally, is somewhere in the middle. I don't trust them. I don't think that you should fear them. Well, I don't think that you should stop going camping, hiking, all of that kind of stuff. Should you respect it? Should you pay attention to it? In my opinion, it's more like a bear. You have to respect what it can do. And if they're throwing stuff at you, if they're screaming at you, if they're breaking branches and stuff, it's probably time for you to leave. But you need to respect what they can do. Don't push the envelope. I guess would be my point. I'm not terrified of them either, but I damn sure respect them. And I've been scared. I'm not afraid to admit I've been scared a couple times where it's like, hey, yeah, I probably need to get my tiny ass out of here.
that was that one. That was that one night. So then, like Nana and I, let's see, 2021. Is it Memorial Day? Yeah, Memorial Day. We went out for Memorial Day weekend. It had been raining for 3 days, and we got a weather report, satellite picture. It looked like, well, let's go up there. It's going to clear up by the time we get there. And that happened. But it had just been pouring for 3 days. And Nana had said, hey, let's go look for Bigfoot this weekend. I go, that's not what we do, Nana. We try and stay away from them. This is not a thing you want to go looking for. It could be really dangerous and scary. And she goes, I don't care. I want to go see one. I go, oh, I want to go mushroom picking. And then it dawned on me that there's this place where this time of year, every year I'm up looking for mushrooms and I hear that strange talking. And especially this one word that I can't, I think it's no. Kind of like that, right? Or Enoch or enough. I'm not sure. So I wonder about that one. I can catch that word a lot of times.
Hey, you're the third person I know of to say that they heard something that sounds like Enoch, which a lot of people say they're talking about Enoch, like the book of Enoch, which goes into the Nephilim biblical thing. But you're the third person I've heard say it sounded like they said Enoch. But anyway, that's crazy. Keep going.
Yeah, Scott on Squatch America says he hears that one all the time too. He's from around here. He's from the next town over.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, so I thought that I went, yeah, and that's a great spot to look for Bigfoot, a great spot to find mushrooms. They're probably there right now. Let's go look. We'll go camp there. We'll do it just like you guys taught us. You will go set up camp and we'll sit there and be dumb and they'll come to us because you're not going to sneak up on them. And we'll just sit there and look dumb and they'll come to us or not, or we'll hear things. Hi, Debbie. Anyway, we drove up there. Right. And we found this spot I had in mind. It's up at the road gets closed. They put a big berm across it, and then there's it's a fork in the road, and there's another berm on that road, and nobody in this place. I almost never see anybody there. And a little meadow with a tiny little swamp and a little creek running through, and we got our 3 doggies. We got a big yellow lab and our chihuahua and our baby chocolate lab puppy. and they get to play in the swamp and get all muddy and have fun and then lay around. And so we set that all up, and we're sitting in our chairs. I got this fancy new camera that Matt from Central Florida Bigfoot talked me into buying, so you can see into the trees, right, without seeing a shadow. So I got it right there, all set up, ready to go, hanging from my chest. I'm sat there all afternoon looking at the hillside. The other hillside behind us is too thick, can't see it. So, but this one, if anybody comes out here, we can see it. And about 7 o'clock at night, the sun is right straight out. Because we're up on a mountain on the edge, and the sun's right straight out, and it's shining through the trees and making a very weird light. And I'm going, okay, time to let's start a fire and make some dinner, cook up them brats, and just have a great time. And I took the camera off, set it on a little table next to my lawn chair, walked over to there's a great big huge tree behind me with two little trees growing under the edge of it, and underneath those little trees is where I found some dry tinder to start the fire. And so I'm in there breaking those sticks off with my head in that tree. Nana comes running up behind me. Papa, get your gun. Get your gun. They're here. They're here. I go, what? Who's here? And she goes, I'm still breaking sticks because nobody drove up. And she goes, Bigfoot. And I turn around and look, and I swear in my head, two thoughts went off real quick. It was like, Nana, what kind of crap you pulling? And the other one was, there's probably 4 Bigfoot standing right there and friggin' in this meadow looking at us. And turn around, nothing. I go, what is it? She goes, it was right there in the road. I go, really? She goes, yeah, I was looking at it. I was trying to see whether it had breasts or not. And its head was up behind this branch, and it had its arm over here like this, trying to look like a damn tree. Trees, sitting there trying to fool me. And I heard a noise behind me. And I turned around to look back, and he's gone. I go, we can't be far. And he didn't come my way. So I headed over across the little meadow, and I'm looking in the trees really hard, and something's moving out there. And I go, Nana, there's something moving out there. You definitely saw something. And I'm just standing there scanning, and then I see something that looks like 2 black and white deer is what I thought was in my head, right? And about 100 yards away, and they're jumping over each other. And they did that about 4 times, and then they stopped, and they look really hard, and I can't see any black and white deer standing there. Why does the white keep disappearing? And I can't see any of it, and then there they go again. And then I look real hard. I can't see a damn thing. I think my eyes were focusing wrong, kind of weird light, thinking it was 100 yards out there. And then there they go again. And out into the open steps this Bigfoot, 9 friggin' feet tall. And I measured. And he's gray and brown and black down in the bottom of his legs. And his feet are going. He's kind of going away at an angle, almost as sharp an angle as Patty was going away, right? And looking back at me, and just, glance, really didn't care. And I swear it's that same guy from 1982. Same look, same everything. Only 9 feet tall now. And anyway, so I saw him. I've timed this out, check this out. I saw him good, solid 30 yards away for 3.5 seconds as he crossed this opening. And so he's going across the opening. And I saw him, coming up to go through the opening. And then there was other things off to my side moving. But I didn't take my eyes off this because, in hunting, you can take your eyes off and look around at 45 things and miss everything.
Yep.
Right. So I just kept focused on him, So arms were long like Patty's, legs were about that length. He didn't have the big, huge shoulders like you see people draw Bigfoot with. Just a little bit more rounded, but really big. It was about 4.5 feet wide. And somewhere between 1,000 and 1,200 pounds in my wildest guess. Because, I killed 800-pound elk, and these things can pick one up and run off with it. I believe that happened too. Anyway, so he just walks off into the timber, and I turn around and look at Nana and she's standing back by the truck waiting for me to go over there. And so I go over to the truck. I'm just like, I know the whole time that I was watching this thing. I mean, okay, so he's got extra long arms, so it's big, that's not a human. Extra long legs, or not extra, legs weren't really long, not really short, just Bigfoot legs. And 12 to 16-inch long hair, black and brown and gray on the back, brown on the legs in front, and black on the bottom of the legs and under the arms. Flat face, human-looking face with the brow ridge, and that's about all I can remember that I'm thinking. I mean, but I'm sure my jaw was on the ground and my heart was in my throat, but I didn't really panic. And I remember I turned around after he walked off. I looked back. There's that friggin' camera sitting on the table.
That's all that happens.
Isn't that something? I'm going like, that just figures. And so I went back to Nana and I said, Nana, you did see a Bigfoot, and I've seen one now too, for sure. And so what do you want to do? I says, we can pack up, right? We can go right now. We can get in that truck and leave. It's backed in here. We can just drive off. You want to do that? We can come get this stuff another time. We can just get in a truck and leave. She goes, I'm not really very scared. Let's stay and see what happens. And I go, all right. Because I think I broke my fear button out in the Bering Sea or at war or somewhere, but I just don't freak out, It just doesn't go off that bad. Anyway, we started cooking up some brats, and I know it was like maybe 15, 20 minutes after we saw the thing. We didn't feel a bit scared about that, Mark. We did, but we weren't that freaked out. And we didn't feel threatened. That's what it was. We didn't feel threatened. It's very weird to have something that big right near you. My God.
Keep talking. I'll be right back. I got to let dogs out.
Okay.
Sorry. Greg, just get him wound up on something.
Yeah, I got it. The question I was going to ask, the ones you've seen, so everything's had like longer hair on it. I mean, like 12, 16-inch long hair.
Yeah.
Was it that long? So it wasn't just on its head. It was all over its body. Was that long?
It was different lengths everywhere. It was like 16, 18 on his hair, and maybe a little shorter down the back, but the arms had that hair hanging down and swinging in the breeze. The front of the legs was shorter, just pretty standard looking thing, right? I went, yeah, that's a Bigfoot. That's exactly what they look like. Except it didn't have that monkey nose, that mug, It had a big, wide human mouth in a bizarre scowl.
Yeah.
And
wow.
So,
Like that last one, how close was it to you? How close did you say?
It was 30 yards when I saw it. Nana saw it at about 70 yards, and it just walked right around our camp, 30 yards to 40 yards and it only took it like 3.5 seconds to do that, 10, 12, 15 yards,
Yeah.
So yeah, I was
Wow.
taking big steps fast. So here's how bad a researcher I am. Do you think I went over there and looked exactly where it was walking to see what if it left tracks? And no, because it's just not what I do. I'm not a researcher. But yeah, I still regret that. But
Well,
you know,
I think
about
a lot of
15,
people,
20.
yeah, I think a lot of people that's never had an encounter, they don't understand. You know, everybody wants to say, well, did you do this? Did you do that? Did you do this? And I've tried to explain to people when you have an encounter, it kind of short circuits everything, and you really don't think clear. You're really not focused on trying to gather anything. You're trying to sort out everything that you just experienced, and there's a whole lot of afterthought after you get time to to process everything. But there's always going to be that, I wish I had done this. I wish I had, and asking yourself, why didn't I do that? And it's hard to explain.
Yeah, it is. So about 15 minutes after, or 15, 20 minutes, half hour after we saw the Bigfoot, and we're cooking up dinner up the hill where he disappeared into, comes that dang 3-tone scream howl thing that I've talked about, and that was Nan and I both perk up and go, "Yep, that was it." One of the things we really noticed from that trip was because we heard all kinds of sounds. We heard the howls, the whoops, the talking. They were whacking branches on trees, and you could tell whether they were about 75 to 150 yards away. You'd hear one knock on a tree down the hill from us in this other meadow, near this other meadow, and then you'd hear two knocks right up by us. And I'm going like, so they're talking to each other with those knocks, aren't they? One for how well, and the other one is there's still two out there. That was our wild guess, but we heard that a lot. One knock down below and two knocks up above, and that happened all the time. So the next morning, we slept all night. Nana said, "Yeah, things walked around the tent." Next morning, I got up to go pick some mushrooms. Nana said, "No, I don't want to walk up that hill. I'm just going to sit here." So I went around the big tree I was sitting in front of in the lawn chair, went around the tree and started up the hill looking for mushrooms. And right behind the tree, I ran into a 16 and 3/4 inch track or 17-inch track. Perfect track in a perfect mud. Did I bring any casting material? No. And I went, dang, he was hiding behind this friggin' tree all friggin' day watching us trying to watch him. And when I went and stuck my head in the tree to get some tinder, he took off. And so I'm looking around, and I found one, and then I found another track going off in the direction towards where Nana saw him. And then I went the other direction back, and I found a 10.5-inch track. And
Really?
neither one were bear tracks. They were classic Bigfoot tracks. And all tracks had been wiped out right up until we arrived because it had rained everything off right up until we arrived. And I found a couple of them 10-inch tracks, and then they just disappeared. I couldn't find another track. And that was good ground for leaving a print, really good ground. Yeah, so I don't know how they do that. I have no idea how they do that. So I start up the hill and I stop. I think about it and I go, "Oh, let's see. I do not want to take your picture. I don't want to do anything to disturb you. All I want to do is go up here and fill this basket with mushrooms. And if that's okay with you, I'll go ahead and do that." And so I just said that to the world. Started up the hill, picking mushroom here and there. And I heard this. This was a thing that I used to hear in the Wallowas and the Minam a lot, lots of places. There's a little tick, tick, tick that will parallel you, right? I've had lots of noises parallel me, but this one is a weird one. It happens in the day, and it tick, tick. And I've heard that ticking a lot of times, and sometimes I've went in there to look, stuck my head in the tree where the ticking was come from, and I've seen a little tiny wren. For a long time, I blamed it on a nuthatch because you'd see them under there, something about that size running around in there. And then I see a little wren, brown wren in there making that ticking noise. And so I would hear that tick. And why is this wren following me around? And I'd go look in the bushes to find that what was ticking, and nothing in. So I heard that tick go along, and then it go tick, tick, tick. I'm walking, I stop, and the ticking stops. I take off walking again, the ticking starts and follows me. And then it stops when I stop. And I went, I go just like this. You're up there, aren't you? That's all right. I'm just picking some mushrooms. And then it kind of dawned on me, there's an opening in those clumps of brush. Right there, I'm gonna catch him. So I start to book right to them clumps of brush, and there's rocks rolling down through that opening. It'd gone up over the hill and beat me. I mean, I could hear the steps in the rock and go up over the rocks rolling down up over the hill. I went, shit. Always ahead of you. Always ahead of you. You just can't sneak up on Jack, right? And so I went up and picked my mushrooms. I called up Duke on what was he then? World Bigfoot Radio, and go there. I just saw one. And they're right here. They're following me right now. Anyway, I picked up half a basket of mushrooms, went back down the hill to Nana. I says, Nana, I just heard that ticking, and they were following me around up there, and blah blah blah. And we went through the day, same kind of stuff all day. We went and measured, where he was standing when Nana saw him, and his shoulders were 8 feet tall. Nana said, she held a stick up to where his shoulders were on a branch. And so his shoulders were 8 feet tall, and his head was behind the branch looking at her. So he was at least 9 feet tall, maybe a little taller. And then we never did go over and look where I saw him. We never even looked for tracks. Yeah, we did. Where Nana was, we didn't see any tracks, but we saw him standing there. She did. Anyway, so that went on. Then the next day, we get up, and Nana wants to go for a walk. So she takes the dogs for a walk down the road with and picked a few mushrooms. But when I finally, I slept in. I think I had insomnia, so I slept in, didn't do nothing. When she came back, she said, hey, now I know what you mean about that ticking. I go, did that follow you along the whole time? She goes, yeah. Oh. And so the last night we stayed there, we're always hearing knocks and whoops and some talking every now and then. It seemed to us like we'd be sitting there looking for stuff coming, and the dogs' heads would perk up and look, and Nana would go, look, I think there's kids here trying to play with us. Nana gets better impressions with me. She said these things didn't talk to her. She says she can hear them talking to her in her head. Like when I broke those wood and we heard the big telephone pole booms, she said she heard in her head, I know where you are. Quit talking to me like a baby. So then he showed us how to knock on a tree. Anyway.
So, is she saying that she actually gets mind speak?
She gets it. Yep. And she can tell when they're around, and she gets mind speak. So after this trip, it's the last night we stayed there. We kind of, look, Nana goes, let's play some country music. So I opened up the doors of the pickup. I got great big speakers in the doors, and I holler out to the world, I hope you like country music. And we start blaring it out to the world. And we're playing Nana's favorite song. Can't remember the name of it, but at the end of it, it's got this little riff with the drums. Boom, 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 like that, right? And I'm just farting around in camp or something. And she goes, Papa, listen. I go, what? She goes, listen, at the end of this verse, there's 3 drum beats. Listen what happens when they're at the end of the verse. So up come the 3 drum beats, 75 yards away, right in time to the drum beats is 3 wood knocks, just like that. And I go, well, I guess they like country. I just slapped my leg. I laughed. You guys are something else, right? And next morning we get up and Nana wants to go pick some more mushrooms. We go down to the meadow where we were hearing all the noises and wood knocks. Or I don't. We go down that way and I go up the hill where there's more mushrooms growing up here. She goes down to the meadow. Damn thing's chock-a-block full of mushrooms. And no Bigfoot around there. I'm just going like, this lady's crazy. We've been hearing Bigfoot noises right here all friggin' day, and she's going to go walk in there all by herself. And she did, and nothing happened, and she found a bunch of mushrooms. She comes back with her shirt all full of them and her basket full. So we went back to camp, packed up, and went, well, that was fun. Let's go. And we got up over the ridge to leave that whole area. And it was just a big sigh of relief. Just, I did not know we had been scared all weekend long, right? It was just, that is such a relief. And looked around and went, Nana, you better not say a word about this. There ain't a friggin' soul in the world ever going to believe any of that. But so that was that. And since then, she next year we're out mushroom hunting. I find the big turd. She's sitting on the tailgate of the pickup playing video games while the kids and I are down the way picking some more mushrooms. And she says, because she knows Bigfoot's there, she goes, they're right here, they're right over there. She can tell the direction. She gets a tingling in her back. Like I get a tingling in my back, like when a mountain lion's following me down that trail.
Yeah.
You get this little twitch in your middle of your back and turn around with your headlamp and your bow drawn. There's a damn mountain lion 30 yards back there. And I haven't caught him long enough to shoot him, but I don't know. I've turned around, run back, and scared him off. Don't want to let them. You definitely want to scare them. They ain't afraid of you at night unless you act up, and they might not be afraid of you then. But so anyway, and I've had that happen to me at times when I couldn't find mountain lion, but that doesn't mean nothing. But she says she can tell like that. Her back starts tingling in the back, and whichever way she's facing her back, the stronger it gets. That's the way they are. And then sometimes she hears them say things to her. She said that whole weekend they never said a thing. She says, I don't think some of them can do it. But anyway, she says, yeah, they're around here. And we went out. I went, fine. I'll never see them. And we're picking mushrooms, and she's sitting there playing video games. She looks up, and there's a Bigfoot head sticking up above the bush. Big round one. And she just pretends like she's looking on her phone, and she just kind of brings it up careful and goes snap, snap, snap. She looks back down. There's 3 beautiful pictures of that head sticking up above the bush. She just takes off booking towards me to go show me the pictures, and her phone goes click, click, click. Pictures are gone. So I don't know who did that. I've heard that before. Have you heard that? I was out on I won a trip with Duke out in Montana to go on a expedition with him.
Yeah.
And I took a lot of pictures. with my fancy camera and looked at them, and they were nice, and pictures of prints and the walking around. But and he wanted to show them, and I sent them, and they were all blurry. Something blurred all my pictures because they weren't before. So that's that's a couple of things, and then we're out in Arizona with Judy and Stevie B and Mogs, and Jay and Stevie B and Judy had one heck of a crazy experience out there. They
really?
got stuck out in the woods all night and saw white things peeking around from trees, and they took pictures, but the faces disappeared over time. Judy took a beautiful picture of a family of Mogollon monsters standing, by the road. They just had one heck of an experience. So, and then when I was out with Duke, we sat around talking all night. And about daylight, he says, we need to come over here to the, and I did hear lots of whoops and wood knocks and howls. But we need to walk over here and look. This is where they like to spy on us from. And let's go look and see if anything's hiding in there. And as we got close to there, all of a sudden my legs went limp, numb, right? I'm going like, Duke, I can't move. I can't walk. I don't feel good. Something weird's happening. I better get back before I collapse. So I hobbled my way back to the chair, sat down, sick to my stomach. It hurt. I thought maybe if I ate something, it would help. And I gotta go to bed, Duke. I'm trashed here. Went and laid down in the tent, and intense fear comes over me. Intense. And I'm just laying there freaking out, going, what the hell am I doing so far away from my happy little home with people I don't know doing something as stupid as this? And now I'm going to get eaten by a grizzly or a Bigfoot or something any minute, and I'm totally incapacitated. And woke up about 8 hours later. But
did you feel better?
Yeah, I felt, okay. I was zapped.
That sounds
I've
like
had
classic getting zapped.
Yeah, and I've had that happen to me on my little trail. I like to walk out there picking boletes too. So it was out one time me and my grandson were out picking boletes and just dropped on our butts at the same time. He goes, Papa, I don't feel good. We got to go back. I go, I don't feel good either. Let's go back. And that's happened to me twice in that exact spot. I think they kind of hang out with their family there in the spring and don't want me around. I don't go out that trail much in the spring. So that's a whole lot of this stuff that's happened, The 3 times I went actually looking for them, amazing things happened. And
I
don't plan on doing it again. I'm not a researcher. I don't know a lot. I don't know what they are, What messes up the phone?
Join the club.
Yeah. Well, you guys know a lot more about them than me, so I always watch you guys and listen.
And we appreciate that. First of all, let me say thank you for doing the show. The Bigfoot stuff aside, we could probably do a whole show with Papa on just like being an Alaska fisherman, y'all, or being a logger. I mean, there's a lot. He's had other scary stuff happen. It's not just the Bigfoot stuff. But hey, let me ask you this. Do you think spending so much time being out on your own in the wild, surviving off the land, do you think, I have opinions about this. Do you think it acclimated you to a degree to nature more than, the average person that just sits in their house and sits on the phone all day? Do you think do you think there's anything about you that changed and made you more sensitive, able to pick up on these things?
Absolutely. When your life depends on being able to kill something to eat.
Yeah.
You get real in tune with every little movement, hearing, more open to. Yeah, because Nana and I have talked about that. Like after that weekend we spent with the Bigfoot family there, I was just talking about. We sit around there a lot, and go, you know, those sounds could have been happening all around us all the time, and we never would have even paid any attention to them. But and I go, yeah, that's true. We wouldn't. But so there's a whole lot of things like that where, yeah, when I spend all that time, you hear every little noise, every little thing. You know what everything sounds like. You go, I mean, you're living there.
Yeah.
Every noise in the night and something weird. It's weird.
Have you ever been hit by lightning? Just curious.
No, not even
No.
close.
But you've had traumatic things where you almost died a couple times.
Lots, yeah. I'm clear past the 9 lives part.
All right. Hey, Papa, if
Yeah,
do you want to come back on at some point? Maybe like weigh in like in a round table kind of thing.
sure. I love talking to you guys. I don't talk to people over here about this stuff, man. Somebody might find out that I'm nuts.
Because they won't see it on YouTube.
Right. Yeah.
It comes with the territory. You just got to brush that shit off.
But yeah, it's a weird little hang up I got there that I just can't. I just don't even pay any attention to Bigfoot groups over here because I might say something in chat and then somebody go, "Oh, I know you. You're an idiot."
I'm beginning to think that these things are drawn to Nana.
Yeah.
Well, Nana is a magnet. I can't take her anywhere. You just can't take her anywhere without some big ugly creature following her around. Just kidding. I don't mind. At least she knows, because they're here.
Hell, next time, get her on. I want to talk to her.
Yeah, she won't talk to anybody. She's shyer than me. She grew up in the woods too.
Wow. Man, I'm so tickled that you came on here and chose to talk to everybody and at least let us hear what you had to say, and I appreciate it. I mean, I know what it's like to finally come out and go to telling people what you've seen, and it's not just there that it's hard to talk about stuff because pretty much about 95% of the population looks at us like we're crazy, and but that's cool, man. I really appreciate you feeling comfortable enough to come on here with us. I really do.
And
Yeah.
I thank you for saving the show because we had a guest that was supposed to be on and the guest backed out and Papa jumped in there. He's like, "Hey, I'll come on." But
I was just being a smart ass.
Yeah, but see, I pounced on that. I was like, "Hey, really? Come on."
That's all right. I was just trying to, yeah. It was like nobody will talk to me. I said, "I'll talk to you." And here I am.
We try to make this as comfortable as just like talking to somebody in person, And I'm not saying anything about the other shows, but a lot of the other shows, they're a lot more, I don't know, streamlined or formal on their interviews. And we're just being us and we're just trying to have a conversation with somebody, except for it goes out on YouTube. So that's how we roll. That's how we do it.
We do what we call kind of like back porch talk. I mean, it's like we're sitting on somebody's porch, sitting around a campfire. Well, that's what we want. We want people to feel comfortable. I mean, just like we were sitting around a campfire.
Yeah.
I want to go to Oregon. I want to go to Oregon for hunting, but I would love to see the land. I've never been there.
Well, I'm planning on trying to go see David and Dee Dee. I mean, they live on the other side of Oregon from where he's at.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd like to go see them. Maybe I can make that happen here before too long.
Yeah, he's like kitty corner for me. He's clear down in
Yeah.
southwest, and I'm up in northeast. And
Yeah.
boy, he's got some crazy stuff happen to him, huh?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Hey, I have a question for you before we get off here. You've seen our shows. You've been in our chats and everything. I mean, you've been around for years now on the Bigfoot stuff, watching other people's shows and everything. We mostly talk about stuff around us, like we talk a lot about Alabama and Tennessee and Kentucky, North Carolina, all the areas around us that we go out and look for stuff and have had experiences. When you're watching people from the other side of the country, like we are, does it ring similar to a lot of the stuff that you've seen, that you've experienced out there? Because you're complete opposite across the country from us. Does it sound like the same thing? Are you hearing and seeing the same thing that we talk about?
Yes, that's how I figured out what I've seen and heard as a Bigfoot is by listening to a lot of the things you guys talk about. I think you have way more, activity experience than we do. I think that you guys are like people's houses are all around them, right? They haven't got anywhere to run to. If they get they have a lot of room to move out here, just like wild animals. You just
Yeah.
they can wander, and I see that they do. They're not in the same place all the time. But I think they got really good places to live. You guys got more food to eat for them
Well,
and everything. I think you have more of them.
every area is different. Well, do we have more of them, or do we have more people that are actually seeing them to report it back in certain areas? You guys have more wilderness in between you, so you might not have as many people necessarily out there where they are. Versus if you go to Alabama, Alabama is damn loaded. I cannot stress that enough. Alabama is damn loaded with boogers.
That's
But
good ground.
where the boogers are, though, there are also people. So a lot of people, and there are a lot of hunters and fishermen and campers and everything out in Alabama. So there's people to report it back. But in my experience, Alabama is more loaded than like where I am. So who knows?
That, that's a dang good argument about it. I kind of tend to think now. I think that you guys have more of them, just more food, more. They have to cover more ground up here, more area to find food. I think, and I don't think that. I think they're carnivores. I scoured my memory. I've never seen a place where the roots were dug up, the plants tore up like they're being harvested. I've just never found a place, and I've
Hey,
looked for those kind of places, you know, like a man possessed,
bi-
trying to eat.
bigger animal, bigger animals. Like if you look at bear in the Northwest and going into Canada, they have a higher protein diet. They eat more animals. They're more predatory. They eat more animals. They're more carnivorous than they are where it's warmer. Just like the hair. The hair on a bear is shorter the further south you get, and they're much bigger animals with longer hair up north. So who knows though? This is, I mean, it's all speculation, but
Right, right, right.
all right.
It is.
Well, y'all, we have been on here over 2 hours. Hope you like the show. We'll get Papa back on if he's willing to on some of the other stuff. Maybe we'll do a round table kind of thing and get him on. He'd be a good one for that.
Oh, I
I
want to throw
think
this out
so.
there. Yeah, that'd be great if we get you back. But, hey, let me throw something out. Anybody that didn't watch Night Owls Friday night, y'all go back and watch that for us. Give us a thumbs up, big like on it.
Miss V was on there. Was a good show from what I understand. I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah. A long show. It was like 4 seconds, being 4 hours and 4 minutes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Greg,
Oh yeah.
Greg and Squirrel are going to try to break Roger's record of the 6.5 hour show at some point.
Yeah, we could have done it the other night, but Misty's hotspot, I think, was about to catch on fire.
Isn't that is cool, because I can talk to you guys from a lot of mountaintops around here because I got service up there. None in the canyon, but I can get up on a mountain and
see.
Talk
I'm
from a
up on
place.
the mountaintop here, and I don't get crap for signal.
Yeah.
Well, we got lots of them that you don't, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, anyway, y'all, thanks for watching the show. We had almost 160 some people while we were live there for a good bit. So thanks for watching the show. Oh wait, hold on. Where's the thing?
Let me throw this out there. Hey, look, anybody that hadn't went and checked out D.A. Roberts' books, check those out, please. Check out Robbie Raines' book. He's got one out. Y'all, if y'all ain't read it, y'all missing out. And he's got another one coming, and DA's got another one coming, be up soon. So yeah, please go check them out. Support them. Cedar Creek Farmstead Life. Check him out. Don't forget Brother Roger, Squatch and Holler. Anybody new in here, this is the folks we support. Look at there.
There's DA.
Yep.
There's Robbie. And hey, it's like that post that we made about support the people that we support and the people that we're friends with and everything. There's Chris. If you haven't checked out Chris Reinhardt's channel lately, go hit him up. If you're not subscribed, and a lot of people watch the show that are not subscribed. I don't care, but I do want to say we're only 121 away from 3,000 subscribers, which would be a milestone for us. If you don't mind, please hit that subscribe button. Doesn't cost anything. But anyway,
and hey, look, the people that's been subscribed, appreciate y'all. But please go back and check and make sure YouTube didn't unsubscribe you. And if they did, please hit that again for us.
There is a good chance YouTube actually does unsubscribe people. I know I've gone back and seen channels that I know I was subscribed to, and I had to go look them up again. But it seems to happen a lot with the Bigfoot YouTube shows. Don't ask. I have my suspicions about why that is, but anyway.
So yeah, I mean, guys, there's a lot of good folks that's in the group. A lot of them was in here today they got their own shows. Y'all, hey, look, I'm gonna wait. Look, y'all go check out Wendell's show. Bigfoot 911. Go check him out.
We got bets on Wendell going viral. Somebody is going to see Wendell's crazy ass and post it on TikTok, and it's going to get 2 million views. And then Wendell's going to have like one of the biggest channels, and everybody's going to be watching just because it's Wendell.
Oh yeah, Wendell will be on like some big stage, and all the cast from Finding Bigfoot will be up there, and people out in the crowd will be going, "Who's all them dudes up there with Wendell?"
Yeah. Bigfoot 911. Go check out Wendell's channel. But get to know the people that we know and talk to them. Don't be shy. Everybody that I know in the Bigfoot world is very much approachable.
Don't forget old line cryptids. We got to throw in there for Jerry and Jeff. Yeah. Beards and boogers. Check them out.
All right. Papa C, thank you for doing the show. I greatly appreciate it, brother.
You betcha.
Yep. Yes, sir.
Fun. Very
everybody
with you.
Here we go, y'all. Yeah, see you next weekend. Yep. All right. Y'all have a good one. Thank you. Everybody take care. Bye.
Bye.
Squirrel.
Hey, y'all. Hey, Spencer. We're swapped
Hello,
around.
Huh?
We're swapped around again. Hold on.
Yep. I know you do it on purpose.